I sat on a rickety bench just outside the fence at the baby shower venue in Malibu Park, peering through the slats as laughter floated from the decorated pavilion. I'm Karen, 62, originally from New York, but now settled in California after retiring as an elementary school teacher. I had poured my savings into this event for my daughter Jessica. Yet here I was, exiled like an unwanted stranger. The ocean breeze carried the scent of fresh-cut flowers I funded, but it did little to ease the knot in my stomach. My sister, Patricia, 65, and always the family organizer as a homemaker, had pulled me aside upon arrival, insisting my casual style might clash with the upscale vibe among the young moms and social media crowd. I had spent the morning in a light blue sundress, hair pinned neatly, holding a handmade quilt in my gift bag. But no warm welcomes came, not from Jessica, 30, and busy as a marketer posing for photos, or her husband Brian, 32, and an engineer adjusting his collar while his mother Evelyn, 60, and a business owner arranged the gift table. I watched the games unfold, toasts raised without a nod to me, as if Karen hadn't covered the catering spreads, decor, arches, and venue rental overlooking the waves. My fingers steadied on my phone as I launched the vendor apps, canceling the caterer's delivery, the decorator's setup, and the venue's extension in swift taps. I smiled outwardly, stayed silent, but inwardly, a firm decision took hold that would disrupt their flawless gathering. Subscribe if this resonates, and comment where you're watching from. Family can be a place of warmth, but sometimes it's also where the deepest heartbreak comes from. If you've ever gone through something similar, share your story so we can listen and understand together. Leave a comment below and let's see if we share the same struggles. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey side by side. That morning at the venue, I drove up to the park's main gate as planned, the early light casting long shadows across the grass while I gathered my thoughts in the parking lot. Workers hurried around the central pavilion, unfolding tables and tying ribbons to posts for the day's celebration. Patricia noticed me right away and crossed the path with purposeful steps, her role as the 65-year-old homemaker who thrives on directing family gatherings evident in her clipped efficiency. She scanned my attire, a modest knee-length floral skirt and matching blouse I picked for its practicality, and her brow furrowed slightly. "Karen, let's step aside briefly," she said, guiding me to a secluded area beyond the setup zone. With a firm but polite demeanor, she clarified that my clothing didn't sync with the event's intended atmosphere, appearing too relaxed and ordinary for the assembly of Jessica's upscale acquaintances and digital influencers who favored a refined, visually appealing environment. As the aunt overseeing logistics, she aimed to maintain uniformity, ensuring the snapshots captured on social media reflected a sophisticated narrative. I absorbed the explanation with a nod, the implications sinking in without argument, eager to avoid any tension during Jessica's milestone. She mentioned it was just for the initial part, and I'd be included shortly before pivoting back to supervise the floral arrangements. I positioned myself on a nearby stump, my hands developing a slight tremor against my thighs, reminiscent of anxious moments before addressing school boards in my educator past. The skirt's material now struck me as mismatched amid the polished displays visible in the distance, its subtle hues lost against the vivid decorations. Arrivals picked up pace soon, ladies in fashionable outfits bearing presents. Brian extending greetings with his steady engineer's composure, as Evelyn, his 60-year-old mother, an adept business proprietor, managed the beverage counter with authoritative flair. Jessica navigated the crowd smoothly, her expectant form accentuated in a graceful ensemble, sharing stories about baby registries with her marketing peers. Diane, my 55-year-old cousin, showed up as well, exchanging a brief acknowledgement before immersing in the activities. The separation gnawed steadily, a dull ache expanding in my torso, as the reality crystallized that this segregation stemmed from deliberate intent, crafted to sideline specific presences. Around lunchtime, the addresses commenced, and I tilted closer to absorb the session from my outpost, the speaker system projecting tones over the faint rustle of leaves. Evelyn led off with confidence honed from her corporate experience, conveying gratitude for the assembly, honoring Jessica and Brian's expansion, commending Patricia for the impeccable coordination akin to a veteran coordinator. Brian proceeded infusing levity about impending parenting challenges and the reliable circle surrounding them, eliciting smiles from the participants. Jessica then assumed the spotlight, her delivery sincere and enthusiastic, recognizing her associates for the interactive segments, Patricia for the thorough oversight, and Evelyn for the tailored mementos. Absent was any allusion to me, no recognition for the foundational support or arrangements that enabled the occasion. The void echoed profoundly, my hold on the stump firming to temper the mounting disillusionment. I noted the assembly lift their beverages together, accolades resounding without my inclusion, the sentimental divide broadening with every unacknowledged element. Midway through the party, the atmosphere grew lively as the microphone passed hands' voices, booming across the open space with stories and well wishes for the new arrival. Patricia grabbed the spotlight after the initial rounds, her delivery steady and commanding, as the 65-year-old homemaker who relished steering these occasions, outlining how she had curated the playlist and seating to foster a warm, intimate feel. She thanked the vendors for their prompt service and the guests for their thoughtful contributions, emphasizing the collective effort that made the day special, without a hint of my role in securing those elements. The words flowed smoothly, drawing nods and smiles from the crowd, but each omission built a layer of unease in my gut, like overlooked homework in my old classroom logs. I shifted slightly on my spot, the grass prickling through my shoes, absorbing how she positioned herself as the pivotal figure, the aunt who tied everything together seamlessly. Jessica followed suit, stepping forward with energy typical of her 30-year-old marketer persona, her speech laced with anecdotes about pregnancy cravings and nursery themes that had the group engaged. She expressed deep appreciation for Patricia's guidance in pulling off the vision, crediting her for the cohesive look that would shine in shared photos online. Additional shouts went to her husband Brian for his steady support as a 32-year-old engineer handling the home front, and to Evelyn, his mother, for sourcing the unique party favors as a 60-year-old business owner with an eye for details. Diane, my 55-year-old cousin, chimed in with a quick laugh during the interactive part, but Jessica wrapped up by toasting the circle of friends and family present, her tone heartfelt yet exclusive, bypassing any nod to the financial backbone I provided. The lack of acknowledgement settled like a stone in my throat, the disappointment coiling tighter with every unmentioned transaction. As the applause faded and games resumed, I pulled out my phone discreetly, opening the banking app to glance at recent activity amid the distant cheers. A quick scroll revealed unexpected entries from days prior, charges for extra dessert trays and photo booth rentals that I hadn't authorized totaling several $100s pulled directly from my account without consultation. The discovery hit like a sudden draft, my pulse quickening as I cross-checked the dates against emails from the planning phase. Jessica's name appeared in one vendor note as the contact for upgrades, while Patricia had signed off on another, their roles as event leads now tied to these oversteps. The realization fueled a slow burn of frustration, the unauthorized pulls feeling like a breach of trust amid the ongoing sidelining. With the party still in full swing, I navigated to the vendor portals one by one, starting with the catering service for the remaining courses, confirming a scaled-back order that would end deliveries early. Next came the decor team, instructing them to hold off on additional installations like the planned backdrop refresh. Finally, I messaged the venue manager about shortening the booking time, each step deliberate yet measured to avoid immediate chaos. The decisions accumulated quietly, the disappointment transforming into a focused determination as I pocketed the device. The sounds of laughter continued uninterrupted for now, but the undercurrent of exclusion had tipped into something actionable. A quiet recalibration of my involvement. That evening at the hotel, I checked into my room overlooking the dimly lit parking lot, the drive back from the park leaving me drained yet alert. The space smelled of generic lavender cleaner, the bed firm under my weight as I kicked off my shoes and sank onto the edge. Sleep evaded me entirely. my mind replaying the day's events in loops that kept my eyes fixed on the ceiling fan's slow rotation. Around midnight, I sat up reaching for my tablet to dive into the event's financials, a spreadsheet I had maintained meticulously over months of planning. Rows detailed every expense: the park permit for $3,000, catering at $2,500, decor supplies, totaling $1,800, all drawn from my fixed income as a retired teacher. Scrolling through the tabs revealed discrepancies, additional line items for premium linens, and extra seating that bumped the total beyond what I had approved. The figures stared back accusingly, confirming the overreaches I had glimpsed earlier. The deeper review uncovered notes linking those extras to requests from Patricia and Jessica, her as the self-appointed director pushing for upscale touches, and Jessica as the expectant center endorsing the enhancements for her circle. Evelyn had even added a comment on one invoice for specialty drinks, her business savvy extending to these tweaks without my input. Brian's name popped up on a minor add-on for tech setup, his technical expertise apparently justifying the cost. Diane had texted me once about the basics but stayed out of the finances. The unauthorized adjustments totaled over $1,000, pulling from my card in small increments that now formed a pattern of presumption. The revelation stirred a quiet indignation, my breathing steadying, as the numbers solidified the day's slights into tangible evidence. By 1 a.m., I opened my email client, composing messages to the vendors with precise language, first to the catering company, notifying them of full withdrawal due to revised needs and withholding the final payment. The decor supplier received a similar note, canceling any outstanding deliveries and balance transfers. For the venue, I drafted a detailed cancellation for the extended hours, citing changes in schedule and requesting confirmation of no further charges. Each send button clicked with a sense of reclaiming control, the disappointment from earlier evolving into an empowering clarity. No longer just a passive funder, but someone drawing boundaries. The process felt methodical, my focus sharpening amid the room's hush. My phone buzzed intermittently starting around 10 p.m. Initial texts from Jessica questioning the early end to food service. Her tone confused and edged with irritation as the marketer used to smooth operations. Patricia followed with a voicemail, her homemaker authority cracking as she demanded explanations for the decor, pullback sounding flustered about the disrupted flow. Brian sent a brief message asking if everything was okay, his engineer's practicality masking underlying concern. Evelyn chimed in via group chat, her business tone probing the venue cutoff and its impact on cleanup. Even Diane reached out curiously, wondering about the abrupt shifts. I let the notifications pile up unanswered, the shift to empowerment allowing me to ignore the pings without guilt, focusing instead on the spreadsheet's updated totals reflecting my adjustments. The next morning, light streamed into the room as I woke the hotel coffee maker gurgling in the background while I sat up to face the day's residue. My phone showed a stack of unread alerts, the icons glowing with urgency from the fallout. I hit play on the voicemails first. Patricia's recording crackled with outrage, her homemaker's command fraying as she ranted about the service halts ruining the vibe and demanding accountability for the chaos. Jessica's voice followed, laced with exasperation typical of her marketer flair, berating the untimely cutoffs that left her scrambling for explanations to guests. Their messages carried a mix of blame and disbelief, each one underscoring the expectation that I would fix it quietly. The intensity amplified my resolve, but I skipped replying, letting the silence speak as I moved on. Brian had texted overnight with clipped questions about the glitches, his engineer's precision probing for a logical resolution. Evelyn added to the thread with pointed remarks, her business acumen framing the disruptions as avoidable errors needing swift correction. Diane chimed in mildly, her cousin's curiosity seeking context without accusation. The family's collective pushback painted a picture of entitlement, their reactions fueling an online ripple I decided to initiate. Logging into Instagram, I uploaded a scanned receipt, masking account info but highlighting the sum in my authorization, posting it plainly to let viewers draw conclusions in the algorithm's stream. Engagement surged within minutes, friends and distant relatives liking and questioning in the comments, creating a virtual stir that exposed the undercurrents. Patricia fired off a direct message brimming with fury, labeling the share as vindictive and harmful to family harmony. Jessica escalated in her own note, her words sharp about the exposure tarnishing her professional network. The unfolding exchanges turned personal, their defensiveness sparking debates among mutual connections, transforming a private slight into public discourse. Seeking perspective, I browsed for relevant forums and enrolled in an online community for estranged parents, a space buzzing with narratives of boundary setting and recovery. Nancy reached out via text after spotting the post, her 60-year-old nurse's compassion evident in suggestions honed from dealing with crises in the ER, advising me to prioritize my peace and view the backlash as validation for stepping back. In the group discussions, participants shared tactics like documenting interactions and building support networks, their insights resonating with my situation. The advice from Nancy and the forum members bolstered my stance, the shared experiences converting isolation into solidarity, as the family's persistent pings went unheeded. A few days later at home, I unlocked the front door to my quiet house in suburban California, the familiar creak echoing as I dropped my keys on the entry table. The air carried a faint mustiness from being away, sunlight filtering through curtains onto the living room rug. Unpacking took little time, a few clothes into the laundry hamper, toiletries back to the bathroom shelf, leaving me with an empty afternoon. Wandering into the study, I eyed the cluttered desk drawers where old documents piled up over years. One red folder caught my attention, tucked behind faded tax forms and expired warranties, its edges worn from infrequent handling. Pulling it out stirred a vague memory of stashing keepsakes there after Ronald's passing, items too raw to sort through then. Ronald, my late husband, who had been a quiet accountant before his heart gave out at 64, left behind scattered papers I had avoided for decades. The folder contained envelopes yellowed with age, one sealed with his neat script, addressing me directly. Curiosity overrode hesitation as I slit the flap open, unfolding the single sheet inside. His handwriting, slanted and deliberate, dated just weeks before he died. The opening lines apologized for long-held secrets, his words measured, yet heavy with regret. As I read further, the content shifted to revelations about our marriage, admitting an affair early on that resulted in a child he claimed as ours. Jessica, he confessed, was not biologically mine, but the product of that liaison, a truth he buried to preserve our family unit. The disclosure landed like a muffled thud, my vision blurring momentarily as the implications sank in. Shock rippled through me, a cold wave tracing my spine, questioning every milestone I had cherished as her mother. Images flashed unbidden, her first steps in our backyard, the late nights soothing fevers with cool cloths, the double shifts I pulled to afford her dance lessons. All those efforts now reframed under this hidden fact, the he-seen feeling, both profound and misplaced. Ronald's letter detailed how he convinced me of her premature birth to align timelines, his role as the deceiver, now exposed in ink. The inner turmoil churned a blend of betrayal and sorrow, realizing my devotion had built on a foundation of deception. Continuing through the paragraphs, he expressed remorse for the burden placed on me, acknowledging my unwavering commitment despite the lie. The clarity emerged slowly amid the haze, illuminating how I had poured my life into raising her, from school projects to college applications, without a blood tie to anchor it. The shock evolved into a stark awareness, highlighting the depth of my choices. Not obligated by genetics, but driven by love I chose daily. Ronald's final words pleaded for understanding, his accountant's precision in phrasing unable to soften the blow. I set the paper down, my breath shallow as the room spun briefly, the revelation reshaping memories into a mosaic of voluntary endurance. The emotional aftershocks lingered as I paced the floor, the house's silence amplifying my thoughts. The he-sin, the missed vacations, the scrimped savings, the emotional labor, gained new weight, no longer just maternal duty, but a testament to my resilience. The inner shock gave way to a tentative peace, the truth stripping away illusions, yet affirming my strength. Ronald's confession, though devastating, unlocked a perspective on my role, not diminished, but elevated by the absence of biological imperative. The following week. Sunlight slanted through the blinds as I revisited the study, the red folder drawing me back like an unfinished task. Rifling through its depths again, my fingers brushed a slim insert hidden in the back flap. Another letter from Ronald, this one folded tightly without an envelope. The paper crinkled under my touch, his script more hurried than the previous, dated mere days before his passing at 64, as the reserved accountant who kept ledgers but not emotions in check. Unfolding it released a faint old paper scent, the contents diving straight into elaboration, detailing the affair's timeline with a former coworker named Laura, including meetings in discreet cafes and a weekend trip masked as business. He explained how the pregnancy forced a decision choosing to integrate Jessica into our marriage by falsifying her origins, complete with altered doctor records to match our story. The expanded account intensified the prior disclosure, a surge of dismay washing over me as the specifics painted a vivid betrayal. Inner shock manifested as a tight band across my forehead, the details forcing a re-evaluation of our shared history. Ronald's role not just as husband, but as architect of a sustained falsehood. Recollections surged, Jessica's school graduations, where I beamed from the audience, the financial stretches for her first car, the countless advice sessions on career paths. The high sin now appeared even more unilateral, rooted in a deception that robbed me of informed choice. The letter confessed his ongoing torment, observing my dedication while harboring the secret, his words laden with belated contrition for the imbalance it created. Armed with both documents, a decisive calm settled, propelling me to summon Jessica and Patricia for a direct encounter at my place. I called them midweek, proposing a neutral discussion over tea to address recent tensions. They showed up on Saturday, Jessica knocking first with hesitant steps as the 30-year-old marketer accustomed to polished presentations, Patricia close behind, exuding her 65-year-old homemaker's no-nonsense air. Seated in the den with cups steaming, I laid out the letters and receipts without delay, voicing Ronald's admissions and linking them to the shower's exclusions and financial liberties. Jessica reacted with immediate defensiveness, her voice pitching higher as she denied the relevance, arguing that nurture trumped nature and accusing me of weaponizing old news to justify withdrawal. Patricia jumped in aggressively, her tone laced with scorn as she branded the evidence dubious relics, countering that my post online had already poisoned relations. I pushed back steadily, highlighting the affair's proof and the charges as patterns of exploitation, their interruptions growing heated with claims of ingratitude on my part. Jessica shot back tearfully about needing support during pregnancy, while Patricia sneered at my sudden backbone as manipulative timing. The back and forth turned acrimonious voices overlapping in accusations. Jessica labeling my boundaries as abandonment, Patricia insinuating ulterior motives tied to jealousy. I revealed the second letter's intricacies, their denials faltering under the weight of dates and names, the confrontation exposing raw resentments. Brian phoned Jessica midway his 32-year-old engineer's rationality, attempting to de-escalate via speaker, but she dismissed it amid the fray. Evelyn texted Patricia for updates, her 60-year-old business mindset fueling further barbs about legal ramifications. Diane emailed me separately, her 55-year-old cousin's worry offering neutral ground, yet I stayed focused, declaring the severance of all ties from communication to any future aid. Their protests peaked in a cacophony of pleas and threats, but I stood resolute, preparing mentally for the complete cutoff by outlining no-contact protocols and account changes. The meeting ended with them storming out the door, slamming behind, the evidence left on the table as final testimony to irreparable divides. A month later, the final severance locked in place with numbers blocked across devices and shared spaces, reclaimed through simple paperwork. No lingering threads connected us, the air in my home lighter, without the weight of anticipated calls. The full break ushered in routine freedoms, Walks in the neighborhood, quiet reading hours, a sense of ownership over my schedule. Planning the gathering came naturally, extending invites to a select circle for a relaxed outdoor meal in the backyard. Nancy arrived bearing her usual casserole, her steady presence as a 60-year-old nurse who balanced shifts with community bonds. We swapped stories of daily wins, her insights on resilience cutting through with practical wisdom. Sarah joined with a fruit salad, her 58-year-old librarian's knack for storytelling weaving humor into the mix, her tales always laced with quiet encouragement. Tom contributed grill tools, his 62-year-old retiree's hobby of barbecuing, turning the setup into a collaborative ritual. Maria brought fresh bread, her 55-year-old artist's flair evident in the hand-decorated loaves, her creativity sparking light-hearted sketches on napkins. The menu featured grilled veggies, pasta, and pies, casual dishes that fostered easy flow without formality. As stars emerged, the talk evolved organically, Nancy prompting shares on personal boundaries, her prompts revealing layers of mutual understanding. I recounted the confrontation's echoes, the group offering nods of solidarity without judgment. Sarah likened it to plot twists in novels, her observations framing the ordeal as a catalyst for reinvention. Tom compared it to clearing yard debris for healthier growth, his metaphor stressing the value of fertile soil over crowded roots. Maria reflected on canvas layers, her view highlighting how erasure allows bold strokes to emerge. The conversation wove a tapestry of validation, self-worth not earned through endurance but asserted in release, a quiet power in choosing solitude over strain. Their consequences unfolded in waves, the botched event rippling into concrete losses under American consumer laws. The park authority upheld the forfeiture of the $5,000 deposit, citing breach terms in the lease. Patricia's appeals dismissed in small claims court after records showed her overrides. Gossip spread via neighborhood apps and local networks, her status as the go-to planner crumbling under whispers of mismanagement. Bookings canceled, friends distancing and polite silences. Jessica's bank disputes bounced back after audit trails confirmed approvals, saddling her with the extra costs amid newborn bills. Her attempts at fraud alerts denied interest accruing on the balance. The hard lesson crystallized amid the gathering's warmth: blind trust in those who prop up your joys invites betrayal's sharp edge. Those silent architects of happiness, often dismissed as fixtures, deserve recognition or face the void of their absence. Peace settled deeply now, mornings with birdsong and afternoons in the garden. A reclaimed narrative where self-worth blooms unchecked. My heartfelt thanks to everyone who patiently listened to the whole journey of my life. Your care and empathy give me the courage to open up. Let's look forward together to the next chapter where truth and emotions will once again collide.